After the appearance of a strange person has a significant negative influence on her formerly routine existence, a gorgeous circus performer finds herself in a perilous predicament. There have been a wide variety of species on Earth throughout its different ages, long before humans. One creature has not yet developed since it lacks the ideal vehicle to grab onto as it hunts for millennia, while other animals have flourished and progressed. It eventually made its way to Africa after leaving many hosts until hunters caught its most recent vessel, a leopard. The animal is transported by ship to a place where it is sold as goods. The owner of the circus, Loman, drives a truck into a plot of land in France with merchandise. Yanka walks onto a weighing scale inside a trailer and records the reading on a piece of paper hanging on the wall. While looking outside for Loman, the truck driver glances into the trailer and notices Yanka through one of the windows. Following his confrontation with the man for spying on his wife, Loman exits the trailer. When Loman asks the truck driver what he brought him, the man responds that it is an animal since they can hear the circus animals reacting to something inside. Loman and the driver quickly complete a transfer after taking a quick look inside the cargo truck. A new leopard for the circus's animal display is included in the cargo. The staff eagerly greet the new acquisition as they move it into their cage. The driver steals looks in the meantime at the stunning Yanka as she emerges to watch the chaos outside. The driver apologizes to the female passenger for the prior incident. Then, while Loman stands back and observes them, he begins to flirt and compete for her attention. The leopard begins acting abnormally and tries to break out of the cage fiercely as Yanka joins her husband. Everyone is instructed to leave the animal alone so that it can calm down by Loman. Later, the tamer makes an attempt to train 3 tigers for their upcoming show. Yanka is pushed into the performance area by Loman after he arrives and reprimands her for arriving late. A short while later, the tamer suspects something is upsetting the tigers. The terrified woman flees in terror as one of the tigers jumps over her in the middle of exercise. Following her outside the tent, the driver gives her a passionate kiss. The driver flees, leaving Yanka in a precarious situation as they feel Loman coming. When he notices her, her spouse smacks her in the face. Later on the evening, Yanka goes to bed while Loman does some bookkeeping. He rushes outside to investigate when he hears a ruckus out of the blue. When the circus owner encounters the pitiful tamer, he learns that the new leopard perished after something erupted from its body. When Loman notices the hideous animal remains, he gathers his employees to search for the enigmatic animal. They are unaware that the parasitic slug-like monster enters Yanka's trailer via the ceiling, moves toward the bed, and crawls into her body. When Loman hears the dog barking outside his trailer, he returns inside. He observes Yanka quietly dozing on the bed, unaffected. The next day, Yanka, who is ill, vomits in the restroom. She weighs herself and notices that she has gained more than 4 pounds in only one day. Yanka goes to the hospital afterwards to be examined. Yanka hurriedly makes her way back to the circus after learning the outcome of her exam. Yanka touches her womb while she watches her husband argue with a different circus performer because she is concerned about the future. Yanka steals Loman's money and packs her belongings out of concern about the security of her kid. Then, in a rush to make the train, she departs. A cab driver tells Loman about a woman he left off in the seedy area of town a few days later. She appeared unsteady and was talking to herself, according to the driver. After the cab lets him off, Loman walks into the rundown building to look for his wife. The man discovers Yanka in her red robe on the upper floor. He begs his wife to return home while giving her hugs and kisses. Yanka is holding a kitchen knife behind her. Loman stumbles to the ground as the lady suddenly stabs him in the abdomen. She wonders what she should do next while acting irrationally. Then, as she prepares to kill Loman with her knife, Yanka pleads for someone to spare her. She tosses the knife after failing to complete the task and walks away from her spouse. Yanka flees and cries in despair as Loman reaches for her robe. A demonic voice from the woman's womb responds when Yanka starts talking to herself and dares her to kill her spouse. Yanka takes water from the rain that is dripping from the ceiling as she awakens the next morning. The woman strolls up to Loman to get her crimson robe. The voice suddenly starts speaking, declaring its desire for Loman's blood. Yanka quickly clenches her stomach after realizing it is her child's voice. It explains to its mother that it needs to eat in order to develop, but Yanka refuses to give in. If she doesn't feed the child, though, it may erupt from her body. Yanka attempts to stab her belly with the fork, but the beast harms her from the inside out. As she makes her way to Loman's body, the lady collapses to the ground and spits blood. Yanka is forced to cut up her dead spouse and consume his blood by the agonizing anguish. The following night, Yanka awakens to the sounds of pandemonium in the building. Her kid alerts her to the danger, and she swiftly leaves the structure. Yanka is instructed by the beast to cut a beggar's neck in an alley, so she carefully picks up a broken bottle and sneaks approaching the unwary guy. She moves toward the river and leaps in to drown herself since she is determined to defy the creature's commands. The infant cries out in desperation for Yanka to help her, promising never to be wounded again. Later, covered in a heavy blanket, Yanka sits by the river. Her child apologizes and makes the claim that it thinks and speaks like a person in an effort to persuade her that it isn't a monster. Later, a truck drives by, and the driver offers to let her get in his vehicle. When they stop at a gas station while traveling, the man begins telling the indifferent Yanka about his life. The driver instructs Yanka to change her clothing in the gas station, while he fills the vehicle with petrol but is unable to get past Yanka's hard defenses. The man, however, is just interested in getting her out of the car since he has already persuaded 2 other women to travel in his truck. Yanka's child makes a statement on how terrible the world of man can be when Dad left her at the petrol station. Richard walks into a restaurant 2 months later and lines up. He begins pleading for Rosette, his enraged girlfriend, to forgive him for being unfaithful as soon as he gets to the cashier. Richard charms the lady, begs for cash, and receives a free meal. The man is sitting at one of the tables when he notices the stunning Yanka bussing tables in the restaurant. The smitten man follows Yanka as she saunters downstairs a little while later. Richard stumbles in the dark and tumbles to the ground yelling. Richard lies and says he was seeking for the bathroom when Rosette overhears the disturbance and inquires as to what he is doing in the vacant downstairs dining area. Yanka and the beast express their sadness at losing the chance to devour the stupid guy when the couple departs. A bloodied napkin is discovered on the ground as Rosette waits outside the restaurant for her beau to pick her up from work. The monster instructs Yanka to go to a neighboring eatery to find their next prey. A little while later, Richard shows up and joins her at the table. Her young son comments on how simple it is to seduce human guys. Yanka and the creature were bored by the chattering, haughty man's stories during the lunch. Inquiring as to whether she has accomplished anything noteworthy in her life, Richard shows her a photo of himself when he was a clown in a circus. Yanka sobs and laments the fact that she has accomplished nothing of importance. Richard walks her home after they leave the restaurant. Yanka rejects his attempts to convince her to let him inside, claiming that she is unwell. Rosette attempts to phone Richard the following day, but he doesn't pick up. As soon as she sees Yanka descend the stairs and enter the vacant dining room, she starts to distrust her. Yanka is out and about that evening when she finds a potential victim. The man queries Yanka as to why she has been following him as she follows him into a building. Before Yanka stabs him in the throat with a dagger, the duped guy makes out with her. She kisses the dying guy on the lips and makes them appear to be in a passionate embrace when suddenly others coming out of a neighboring door notice them. Yanka flees to avoid being apprehended, and the guy dies. As soon as she enters her flat, Richard is waiting for her by the stairs. After that, they have a romantic evening together. Yanka wakes up the next morning and grabs a cigarette out of Richard's pocket. She is warned by the thing not to smoke while expecting and is told to stop. Yanka threatens to stab the creature in the stomach with a pair of scissors because she is tired of the beast's oppressive control over her body. Richard enters the kitchen after hearing her irate screams, stopping her insane antics. He says he hopes they stay together, and even wants to get married and start a family with her. As the victim cries in pain, Yanka, who is insane, stabs him in the stomach. Rosette abruptly knocks on Yanka's door and demands to meet her adulterous lover. She enters the pitch-black kitchen when Yanka opens the door. Yanka locks Rosette in the room and flees the building in a fit of fear. Rosette knocks on Yanka's door and begs for permission to go. When the refrigerator door unexpectedly opens, Richard pleads for assistance while taking his final breath. Rosette screams in terror at the horrifying scene. An individual calls Yanka's taxicab 6 months later. She is instructed to turn right by him, but she ignores him since she is anxious to catch up with her intended victim, a runner. Yanka elbows the passenger in the face to control him, while he begs the woman to let him leave. Yanka sideswipes the jogging before forcing the man into a corner and slamming the car into him. She then exits the vehicle and uses a large metal instrument to strike the victim in the neck, causing him to lose his head. When her passenger wakes up, they both witness the horrific situation. He tries to flee in panic but is struck by an approaching truck. After some time has passed, the creature asks its mother if she has become fond of him, to which she responds in the affirmative. Although she dreams of the kid's tragic birth, her fear of its monstrosity keeps her from truly welcoming the child. Yanka's automobile breaks down one day, and a kind man offers to fix it. The lady suddenly vomits blood, startling the mechanic. Assuming she is about to give birth, he flags down a cab and requests that the driver take her to the hospital the closest to them. Yanka doesn't want to go to the hospital, but the man promises her that she will be there shortly. He loses control of the steering as the woman clutches his arm, causing the car to crash into a wall. Yanka manages to escape, but she passes out from weariness. Later, when a compassionate older woman tends to her, she awakens on a couch. Yanka, however, uses a telephone cord to strangle the woman before fleeing via the window. Yanka cries and asks the monster what is wrong with her. The creature replies that she will soon give birth. When the baby is born, the expecting mother finds out that it will want to go back to the sea because that's where it originated from. It will continue to develop for eons in the water until it has reached a form that can rule the earth. The youngster urges its mother to rob a blood transfusion bus because it needs more blood to finish the creature's appearance. Yanka is successful in getting everyone except one guy to leave the bus by frightening them with a fake pistol, including the doctors and donors. She snags the blood bags and swallows them, feeding the hungry beast. Yanka steals the bus and flees with her child to the sea. The weakened guy in the rear of the bus creeps up and snatches Yanka while the lady is in control, causing the bus to crash. Yanka is soon saved by an ambulance, but the man on the bus is killed. When he is unable to find the woman's pulse, the medic stops trying to revive her with CPR. Her body begins to feel chilly, and the creature inside her begins to fear that its mother is dying. The monster forces Yanka's heart start beating again in an effort to keep her alive, awakening the expectant mother. She assaults the doctor by pressurizing him with gas, which causes his body to blow apart. When the ambulance's driver hears the noise and pulls over to investigate, Yanka hits him in the face with an oxygen tank. The woman suddenly has contractions as she enters childbirth. Yanka begins to push the kid out, and after some time, she succeeds in giving birth to a human infant. Later, she robs a man who had stopped to consult a route map of his minivan. She tries to ask her child what she should do next while driving the automobile. The youngster, however, is unable to speak with her any longer. They get automobile difficulty in the middle of their drive, so Yanka stops at a petrol station. A passing passenger overhears the crying of the infant after she abandons it in the car. As he gets closer to the automobile, he can see the infant through the window. The creature suddenly snatches the traveler and drags him inside the car where it will eat him. Yanka instantly returns to the car after hearing the guy's screams, but all she discovers is the dead man and the creature's abandoned human skin. Yanka discovers a bloody path that leads to a bus carrying soccer players. She asks the driver to take her somewhere so she may sneakily look for the monster. Later, when one of the players awakens, he spots Yanka and promptly lets the others know. While she frantically attempts to warn them of the hazardous monster, the guys badger her and make unwanted physical contact with her. The beast sneaks up on and assaults the driver without the other passengers' knowledge. Yanka escapes the men's hold and sprints to the bus's steering wheel to take over control after the guy loses control of it. One of the gamers then screams in terror after noticing the repulsive thing connected to the driver's head. He rushes to the rear of the vehicle, alarming the other passengers. Yanka chooses to let go of the steering wheel and accept her fate as the bus collides with a road sign and explodes as she observes the creature's ultimate state and the potential harm it may bring. The creature, which survived the bus catastrophe, eventually returns to the water the next day.